Exclamation, everybody, and welcome back to Cube Ramblings. For me, it is Saturday night, October the 24th, 2015. As always, this will go up on its usual Sunday morning time slot. I hope everyone has had an excellent week. I've been very, very busy this week. As I mentioned last week, a lot of things came out on the 20th, and how is one lone gameplay person like me supposed to keep up with all this stuff? I'm drowning in the sea of games that I must complete, and yet there is not enough time in the day to do it. But I am continuing forward with that, and I've been playing a lot of stuff this week. A lot of stuff I want to talk about. But before we get to all of that, there's additional news around Cube World and around the stuff that Wale has been tweeting out and working on, and so on and so forth. So I kind of want to bring everyone up to speed with that, since it seems only fair, since that's what the game I'm playing in the background. First things first, 3 new music tracks have been released onto his SoundCloud. One is a battle theme. It sounds like something you would hear during maybe a boss battle of some sort. It's called Battle Begins. Another one is called Enchanted Forest. It's got sort of that whimsical sound to it that you would expect from an Enchanted Forest thing. And I believe the Enchanted Forest biome is the one of the new biomes that's being introduced in the update when we get it. So that'll be interesting to see. And then In the Jungle, which is obviously for the jungle biome. Sounds pretty much like you would expect it to, I would say, for a jungle biome. And then a lot of talk around quests. Apparently he's been working quite extensively on the questing system and the different types of quests that we might be able to see, and the various mechanics around it. So some examples. You might have to rescue some NPCs trapped in cages, and that can also involve, as many of the quests do are multi-part now, that can involve eavesdropping on various other NPCs talking to one another about their nefarious deeds. And the screenshot that Wale put on there was 2 NPCs talking about locking somebody away in a cage and where they did it, and then all you have to do is go find that person in that area and release them. And that's the multi-part quests in action there. And the cool thing about that is you have to remember these quests are all sort of naturally occurring, I guess is the best way I can put it. In other words, it's still very much you're dropped into a world and you're said, go have fun. And in the process of doing that, you run across these things in the world, and they end up being these nice little quests that you go on, which is, I think, the main point that I really like about this game is the exploration aspect, and it's really the thing that is emphasized the most, because the game is so freaking beautiful that you want to go explore and keep looking at all these nice, vistas and things like that. And to have that populated, have that rewarded with these sort of procedurally generated quests and whatnot is a very, very interesting and very compelling thing that I want to see. I must have it in my hands at some point here. Although I've got plenty in my hands as it is right now, I have enough room set aside just for that. And there's a quest around ghosts and tombstones, although it didn't expand any more on that. And an NPC that was poisoned that seemed to imply that you had to go find the cure for them. And also the NPC behavior and their location varies from quest to quest. They showed a Steel Empire soldier just sitting in an inn whereas they might be somewhere else entirely at some other point. Although it might be the same quest, there might be just the locations and everything else might be different about them. Same quest type, I should say. And in addition to that, we saw a giant gate that was locked with a silver key, implying that you had to go find the key for that. Something else that you would run across in the world. I assume it would be a gate to one of the various castles and other areas that are generating now. Other, what would you call them? Dungeons, I guess. That are generated now. I guess that would be every so often you'll get one that has a gate that needs a key to open, and you have to go find a key for it. So that gives it a little bit different dynamic there. And that was the roundup of pretty much the quest information that we have. In addition to that, while I mentioned that pirates are in the game, and that those pirates, they're not a faction just yet, although they might be one in the future. But they do occur, probably in ocean biomes, I'd imagine. And they might have dungeons and quests tied to them. So I can imagine going through one of these long ocean biomes, as you'll see in this episode, and running across some pirates and maybe finding their loot, finding their booty, and being able to take it for yourself. Get my grubby hands on some pirate booty. And that pretty much catches you up with everything that has gone on this week as far as Cube World is concerned. The other little tidbit of information here is that there was some confusion and, lack of information as usual around what happens if you've bought the game and that their store was down. Their store is still down, so you can't buy the game now. But if you already previously bought the game while it was available and you've changed computers in the 2 years that it's been out there, and you've lost your copy of the game, how do you get that back because the store is down? And I believe they've clarified that to say that you can go on to the website, pychroma.com, I believe it is, and log into your account on there and be able to re-download it from there. So if you purchased a game but you lost it, either through hard drive crashes or brand new computer or brand new hardware, all that stuff, you should be able to go over there hopefully and do that. I noticed that the large red banner on the sidebar of the Cube World subreddit has been modified to say that now as well, because we didn't know that beforehand. So that catches you up then, my friends, with the Cube World rumblings around and what's going on there. Still no word on when we'll see an update, but I imagine since there's a flurry of information coming out that, I'm not even going to say it. I'm not going to jinx it. I'm just going to say we don't have any information yet. So I have been, as I said earlier, very busy this week with lots of games, lots of stuff coming out that has come out. I want to talk about a few of the things that I've looked at, and then there's some larger topics that I need to tackle, or at least one larger topic that I need to tackle that you probably all can guess right now, since everybody and their grandmother has tackled it at this point. But it is something that directly affects the channel and stuff, so I want to make sure that I get my jabs in, as the case may be. But before that, so Tales from the Borderlands episode 5 of Tales from the Borderlands, fantastic. Although I missed out on some things there. Apparently, I could have selected Zero, I think, as one of the Vault Hunters to help me out at the very end of it, and did not even see him in the background there. Didn't even notice him. It was so dark that you couldn't even notice him, and I didn't notice it even until I looked at Good's video on it, and I saw some of the comments in there, like, "Oh, you totally missed that guy." I was like, "Yeah, you know what? After playing through the game, I totally missed him too. Like, it does not stand out at all in that scene where you have to pick out the people. They're very, very, they're in silhouette, but the silhouettes are against like a purple background, so it's very hard to see them unless they're up in the front foreground. So yeah, I made that same mistake. Didn't even see him there. I would have definitely brought him along for the ride. But I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed that whole series. I looked forward to every episode of that, and I really hope that they make a second season of that, because I think that was just great. I just loved it. I loved every bit of it. It was a typical Telltale thing where your choices don't actually really matter as much, although they did improve that a bit at the end there. And I don't want to spoil anything unless you want to, you can go watch the video. But it's at the end, they did something that they don't normally do in Telltale games, and they actually reevaluated all of your choices and said, here's why you can do this and here's why you can't do this. And that was, that was prior to the final boss battle. And that was fantastic. I mean, not a fan of the fact that one of them was around the money, because, you gave me a bunch of money along the way, and then I had to pay for clothing at the one spot. But then it's like, oh, if you hadn't spent anything, then you can gain access to something that you never thought was even going to be in there. There was no inkling of it or anything. So not a fan of that. I mean, they could have at least dropped some sort of hint, but I can see that being... I would be very curious to see if anybody in their first playthrough... Now, I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people who play through a second time just to see who they could have had access to. But I'd be very curious if anyone in their very first playthrough of Tales from the Borderlands, of all the episodes, had the forethought to keep some money and not spend it all, or at least most of it. Like, keep most of the money that they could, because that would be interesting. They would be the ones rewarded. I suspect not so many are going to get to see that particular content, but who knows? I mean, I think it was. I can't say that for sure, because there was, when I finished the game, it said something like 13% on that. So 13% of the players at that time did it. I just don't know how many 13% actually is. Like, I don't know how many players actually played it all the way through to the end when I had finished. So, or prior to me finishing. So, don't know at all. But I that was such a good game. I liked it. I liked it a lot. I mean, it's it's certainly not a graphical looker, but it fits the Borderlands art style, and I guess I liked it the most because of the comedy. The comedy aspect of it just kept going for me. Every character in that story I was pulling for. It was very, with the exception of, say, the boss guy, with the exception of him, and I don't remember his name right now. I was pulling for all those characters to survive, and unfortunately, not all of them do. And possibly Felix too, but I Felix made his own bed, so I was fine with letting him die in the first episode. But some of the other ones that we lost along the way were pretty devastating. I mean, I actually felt for them, so that was some good writing, I would say. If I compare that to the Minecraft story mode thing, which I've read a bunch of reviews since playing that, and a lot of people are saying that the characters are really good in that, and it was really good story and all that stuff. And I kind of disagree. I think the story was okay. It was passable. I don't think the characters were done very well. I think they're very predictable, I would say. So from that perspective, I didn't really like it so much. But then again, I mean, they're trying to do a serious story, right? Sort of a serious story in Minecraft. Whereas the Borderlands thing was just over the top ridiculousness. There was a story there. It was a good story, but all the characters were just, their dialogues felt like a normal person would speak if they were thrown into a similar situation. Like, hey, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. This is what I think of this. And this is, I'm going to make light of this, or, I don't know how this is going to work. So let's just roll with it. Or this is the worst plan I've ever heard, but it's the only one we got. That to me made it a lot more compelling, I think. But then again, the audience, target audience for those games is probably very different. Like, the target audience for the Game of Thrones stuff is Game of Thrones people, and so it's very depressing to play that game. I've said it a few times before, and I'll probably say it a few times more. As much as I like the Game of Thrones Telltale game, I'm kind of glad that the final episode will be coming up shortly, because I just kind of want to get it done and over with. It's one of those things where I enjoy playing it, I enjoy the story that's going on, but it's a Debbie Downer. Whereas Borderlands was the exact opposite. It was the great story, and it was very, it made me feel really good afterwards. Like, it was like watching a good stand-up comedy special, although you're sort of a part of it too. And I looking back at the episode, there were things that I didn't even pick up on because I was so enamored with what was going on. There was just things happening, dialogue that was being said that I didn't quite pick up on, and then watching it a second time, I started to pick up on it again. I was like, oh, I totally missed this. This was something that this person said, and I didn't even pick up on it. And it was, I would have made a comment on it if I had, but I feel like that's the thing there. And, Game of Thrones has this sort of adult audience, kind of, who don't mind a bit of depression, I guess. Tales from Borderlands is more of an adult thing too, because it's got a lot of that hyper violence, but also very comedic in it. Whereas the Minecraft story mode thing is definitely tailored to kids. You can see it through it, and it's kind of disappointing in that regard, because there's plenty of adults that play Minecraft, like myself. But I get it. The majority of people who are still playing Minecraft, or still watching Minecraft, I should say, are younger audiences. Though, interestingly enough, and I don't have a link to this, but there was I was reading some things this week that said that there was a lot of confusion around Minecraft story mode, which is very weird, because I thought they explained it pretty darn well. But I guess from a certain perspective, if you've never played a Telltale game before, you don't really know what you're getting into. And the fact it had Minecraft written on it sort of triggers a short circuit in a lot of people's minds. We're like, oh, okay, I know what Minecraft is. Everybody knows what Minecraft is. Well, this is not Minecraft. And a lot of reviews apparently are very, downvoting it and very negative, because they thought they were getting essentially Minecraft with with the same, building mechanics and everything else, and all that stuff that you know and love, but then there'd be maybe a quest-based story on top of it, which is not how that works. It's not how Telltale Games works. But I can see people if they've never played that game before, and now they see something that says Minecraft on it, they immediately jump to that conclusion. But downvoting that and writing negative reviews based on a misinterpretation in your own head is kind of a dick move. It's like, it's one thing if it was advertised as something else, but it never was. Like, if you read the description, and watch the video, what you're getting into. It's not Minecraft. It's a story that has a Minecraft backdrop on it. So that's unfortunate. It's just like the Tales from the Borderlands thing, or the Game of Thrones thing. It's like, well, I guess Game of Thrones, you can't really do it, but Tales from the Borderlands, right? You don't buy Tales from the Borderlands expecting Borderlands, right? It's not a first-person shooter. It's a point-and-click story in that universe. So that kind of confused me. And like, I'm looking at the reviews, and I'm like, why are so many people hating on this thing? And it's like, oh, they all had a different idea of what the game was supposed to be, even though if you just read a paragraph above that review, it's like, here's what the game actually is. I can understand the thought process, and I can understand that, the misinterpretation, but to fault the game for that, or fault Telltale for that, for making a game that is very similar to every other game that they make, is kind of a stretch, to say the least. So, oh well, whatever. But that is my thought on that. I really do hope that they have a season 2, because that was really good. I really enjoyed that. In addition to that, I played Human Resource Machine and had to peel myself away from it, honestly. I don't know if you picked up on that at the end of that video, but I was ready to play another hour of it, honestly. And I just kind of pulled myself away, because at that point I had played an hour, even though the video was only, I think, 46 or 47 minutes. I had played for a full hour because there was about 10 or 15 minutes I cut out where I tried to I kept trying and trying over again to redo that one section where I was trying to get the optimal size for it, the optimal instructions for it, and failing. And I just gave up on it at that point and moved on to the next thing. But I was very willing to just keep on going. I was like, no, I gotta. It was A, it was a little bit of, I don't want to spoil too much of the game, and B, it was also, I didn't want to have the render go for another 2 hours because of the 60 FPS and all that stuff. So it was a little bit of a little bit on me on that regard. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. I've been watching Generic B play through the game a little bit, and as my suspicions were that it gets really hard later on, it does get really hard later on. I've been watching some of his later videos on it, and it's quite the thing. It's quite the thing. I like I said in that video, I am a sucker for the programming games like that try to teach you how to think like a programmer. Not necessarily teaching you programming, but they're teaching you how to think like one. And that's pretty cool. It's very much like the TIS 100 video that I did, which is another game that I really want to go back to and finish, but that will be something that I do on my own, not if I ever get the chance to do something on my own that I'm not recording. Technically I am doing something on my own that I'm not recording, but I am not allowed to talk about it, so unfortunately that will be a thing that will be ongoing. I'm under NDA for that. I can't talk about that and you're probably not going to see anything about that until next year at some point, maybe February, but we'll see. And that's going to be you may not be any videos about it. It's just something that I'm working on the side, just a little side thing. And it's not I'm not working on it. I'm helping somebody else with it. Let's put it that way. It's work for me, but it's not my thing. It's somebody else's thing. Can I be any more vague? Damn you, NDAs. So yeah, Human Resource Machine. I'll link it to Rock Paper Shotgun. I don't think they did a review of it yet. They just kind of give you an overview of the game itself and a video to kind of explain it a little bit more, a little bit better than I'm explaining it anyway. Or you can go look at my side quest video on it. Whatever tickles your fancy on that one. And I also played Rebel Galaxy. That is going to be another one that sucks me in for quite some time, I would say. But I'm only going to do that one probably once a week, if even that. It's going to be an occasional one, just because of having too many other things going on at the time, at this time. But man, that game is so great, and I'm so happy so far, fingers crossed, that I have not gotten a Content ID match on that. Because that is most definitely using licensed music that is probably not licensed for YouTube. So at some point in the future, you may see ads on that, but I couldn't, in good conscience, remove the music from that because it was just too damn good. It was just, the music in that is just so wildly, it makes the scenario, it makes the universe, I'm trying to think of what word, it's the thing that really sets you in the mindset of that the game wants you to be in. It's like, this is a Firefly game, basically, even though there is a Firefly Online game that I've been popping my head into from time to time. But this is going to be, and that's not even released yet. But this is basically in lieu of that actual Firefly game that's being developed. This is basically a Firefly game, and for those of you who don't know, Firefly is a sci-fi TV series that lasted half a season. Yeah, half a season. I think it was 6 episodes. Not even half a season. I think it was like 6 episodes, 7 episodes. I don't remember. But it's a cult classic. It spawned the movie Serenity. It's a very good series that was really butchered by the producers at Fox, and they didn't show the episodes in order, and did a whole bunch of other things that just to make it basically set it up to fail, even though it was just fantastic and it was really getting its feet, but then it just died out, was just canceled, and so the fans have been clamoring for it ever since. And I never actually explained the plot of it, right? It's a sci-fi. It's basically a sci-fi western, Firefly, and that's exactly what this Rebel Galaxy is. It's a sci-fi western, pretty much. Whereas in Firefly, it was just one giant solar system that humanity was in, and there was factions and all that stuff. This one is a whole universe you can jump between, stars and everything. But it captures that sort of frontier feel, space cowboy thing. I'm hauling rice cakes to Patterton, or something of that nature, and I'm enjoying it a lot. It also requires a lot of editing because there's a lot of downtime. It's one of those games that it's a lot like Mad Max in that it was made for streaming because there's a lot of downtime where you can just kind of, talk to the stream or something while you're there and just, have a nice casual time of it in between large, tense battles. There's a lot of downtime. But I wanted that on my YouTube channel, really, is what I wanted. I didn't want it to be a live stream thing. I wanted it on the channel. I wanted it to be an episodic thing that I do probably once a week, possibly on Mondays. I don't know when I'll start it on Mondays. I'm shooting for this Monday, but I have a lot of... I don't have any footage of Transformers Retribution, man. Where did that word come from? Transformers Devastation. I don't have any of that recorded. I meant to record some of it today, but I got distracted by other things. And so I need to record that tomorrow because I don't think I'm going to have enough. It's kind of late at night and I don't think I have enough energy left in me to do it tonight. But I do need to record that tomorrow so that I can at least get it started up again on Monday, since I preempted it for the Tales from Borderlands this week, and then last week I preempted it for what did I do last week? Something else came out. Oh, the Minecraft story mode thing. So yeah, so that's what my plan is for that, and those are possibly going to be longer episodes, like close to an hour. I'm still going to do a lot of editing, all the downtimes, but I'm going to try to record those in like a 2-hour session and then knock it down to like an hour and do it once a week, so that it should hopefully give you a good fill of the game to kind of compensate for the fact that I'm not going to have like 2 episodes of it a week. I'll just have that one big episode maybe, and hopefully that will continue on, and hopefully I'll be able to continue with that as I want to, because there are other things on my list that I want to get to, and I just can't. Every time I go to get to it, something else comes out. Every time I thought I was out, they pull me back in. So that's the state of that, the state of affairs with that. So yeah, Rebel Galaxy, I'll link you to Eurogamer article that is actually the Eurogamer review on Rebel Galaxy. It's not a very glowing review, I'm sad to say, but then again, open world games are not always reviewers tend to be very harsh with open world games because they're very samey to other open world games, and there's nothing new being introduced necessarily. So all I can say to that is you'll have to make a judgment call when it comes to open world games, because reviews are very hard to take seriously because they all tend to hate them. Reviewers just hate them in general, because there's no innovation going on there. So there is, what am I doing on time here? We're only halfway through. Oof, for some reason I felt like I was further along there. Plus I also wanted to buy myself some time to look at my list here. Damn you, memory, and your time buying shenanigans. There's a new Deus Ex Mankind Divided trailer out. I'll link it to Destructoid. There's not much I can say about it other than, holy hell, I want this in my life. The trailer covers basically Adam Jensen just being a killing machine, and the squad that he's a part of is sort of unsure of him because they're all unaugmented people. I think he's the only augmented person in his squad, and the augments are, well, they're shunned by the normals in this one. That's why it's Mankind Divided, and so they're all kind of, leery about him. One even asks him, like, "Are you gonna kill me?" And he's like, "I might." And I'm like, okay, cool. I like what I'm seeing here. So that is nothing more. I mean, it hasn't revealed anything more about the game other than just that. So happy to see more videos on that continuing. Speaking of the Game of Thrones, Telltale Game of Thrones thing, we just got word that the finale, the final episode of that, episode 6, which is Ice something, the Iceman cometh or something. I don't know. It was Ice something. I don't know what. But it's the finale is going to be coming out November 17th, and it's going to be, unlike most other Telltale releases, it's going to be a simultaneous release. So 17th will be for consoles and for the PC at the same time. You don't, if you own it on the console, you don't have to wait an extra day or two like you normally have to, from what I understand. So that'll be cool. Like, you're a gamer that talks, well, I mean, at least points that out. I link it for more for the fact that there's a link there, and it's got a paragraph of text, not much else to going on there. And I talked last week or the week before, I don't remember which, about Woolfe the Red Hood Diaries. It's a game I played all the way through a while ago. That the Grin, who were the company behind it, the people that created that game, basically ran out of money and couldn't fulfill their Kickstarter backer rewards for the Kickstarter backers, the physical rewards anyway. And because they just completely ran out of money, they didn't sell enough copies, and they're out of business. Well, Rebellion has bought the IP for that, and they will fulfill the physical reward tiers for the backers that require them. So they're going to be sending those out. They don't have any plans, though, of doing anything with the IP, though, right now, which is kind of sad, because it was a competent game. It wasn't the best game ever, but it was competent, and there was a world there that I wanted to see. They didn't do a very good job of showing you the world. They didn't do a good job of really giving you the story. But there was enough there that I wanted to see it redone better, or at least have a prequel or something that would just bring that world back. It's kind of it's like a grim fairy tales kind of world, and I thought it was a very good premise. It just wasn't very well executed, and the developers themselves admitted to that as well. This was their first big budget game. Well, first, not big budget, but first real game that they had worked on. Their first original IP. That's the word I'm looking for. Whereas before they had some experience, but it was mostly in porting other games or working on bits and pieces of other games, not taking their own thing and going with it. And they failed, unfortunately. But Rebellion has come by and picked it up. They often buy a lot of this IP from failing companies, or companies that have failed or are out of business and whatnot. So they've done that. They're going to, hopefully all the Kickstarters will be able to, who are waiting for the backer rewards, will be able to get them now. They have not announced any plans to do anything with the IP other than just sit on it, which is unfortunate, like I said. But hey, maybe they'll reconsider and continue it, because it was always intended to be an episodic story. The ending was meant to be open-ended, so that there would be an episode 2 and then an episode 3 and then so on and so forth. So it's hopefully, maybe someday that story will be completed or revamped, or any or all of the above there. So there was a game that has been on my list since E3, I think. Let me see. I still have it on my list here. Let me scroll up a bit and see if I can find it really quick, because there's still stuff on here from 2014, honestly. Anyone want to talk about Take on Mars? I still have it on there. I haven't talked about it yet. My Take on Mars has not been taken yet. When did this first get announced? Oh, here it is. March 7th of 2015, back when I think that was E3. There was a game announced called Bombshell, and it's a action RPG with an isometric, or well, top-down, not isometric, top-down view, action RPG made by 3D Realms and Interceptor. And it's been hanging around out there for a while. It was, from what I understand, it was supposed to be a Duke Nukem game. Duke Nukem? Duke Nukem, yeah. I don't know why I suddenly questioned that. No, it was originally supposed to be a Duke Nukem game. Sorry, I just hit the mic there. And they something happened with the IP where they couldn't get permission to do another Duke Nukem game. There was a lawsuit or something of that nature. I don't know what it was. So they decided to continue to do the game, but instead of it being Duke Nukem as the protagonist, they instead have a female protagonist who is a bomb defusal specialist with a robotic arm. Very, very OP robotic arm from what I've seen in the trailer there, or the video preview that Polygon put on. So I'll link you to that. My suggestion is there's only about a paragraph or two written about it on Polygon. I would read that, but I wouldn't play the video from Polygon. I would actually go to their YouTube channel. There's a link underneath of it, and play it from there, because Polygon's video player, for some reason or another, is utter crap. It like crashes the browser. It does everything wrong. I don't know why they even do it when you can just embed the YouTube video, which works far better. But whatever. They want to show their own advertisements as opposed to have YouTube take all the advertising revenue. I don't know. Whatever. Just, if you do watch it, go watch it on YouTube. Click their link to the watch on YouTube, and don't do it on that page itself, because you will have a bad time of it. So it looks kind of interesting. They play through about 7 minutes of the game. It's not the first 7 minutes, because they do a bunch of edits during it, but it does show bits and pieces of her running across the White House. The premise is she is called in to rescue the president from aliens. Aliens show up and come in through portals. They show up in the White House, and they kidnap the president. And you fight. I think the first level is you fighting on the White House lawn, and then getting into the White House itself. And then finally, you jump through the portal after the president, and end up in an alien world, and you gotta fight through an alien world. And it's supposed to be about 15 to 20 hours, they're saying, the game. Although it's only got 4 areas? Question mark? I know I saw the number 4 in there, and I was like, oh, it's only got 4 levels, but I guess the levels look like they're split up into multiple pieces, and then you supposedly get 15 to 20 hours out of it. So I don't know. Maybe I read that wrong. Maybe it was 40. I don't know. I swear I saw a 4 in there somewhere, but I will link you to Polygon, and you can go read it there and read the storied history of it. I think they mention it on there, and it's something I don't have much to say about, because there's not a whole lot of information about it, which is why it's been sitting on my list forever. But I guess now that I've talked about it, I can actually remove these 2 entries now, and just wait until we see more. Actually, I have 3 entries on here. Holy crap! I just noticed that. I have another entry from June 27th on there. Holy crap! That is, I'm getting through my list finally. How about them apples? Anyone want to know about Techno Babylon? I have that on there from from May 23rd. In case you're wondering what I'm talking about, I actually have a spreadsheet that as much as I hate putting laundry lists in spreadsheets, in this particular case, it's absolutely imperative that I do it. But as I go through and find stuff in my RSS feeds and other news around games, I throw them in here with a link and a time and a date. And this is the list that I read through, or it's basically a bullet list that I read through with a link to the article. So if I forget something about it, I can just look at the article and try to catch up on it. But this is the list I go off of, and a lot of times I'll finish an episode and not have gotten everything on the list, so it just kind of sits there until, because I might want to talk about it the next week, and then it gets bumped again and bumped again and bumped again until finally it just sits here on this list forever and a day until I finally just say, okay, I'm never going to talk about this. Like, hey, I still have Ort Online on here from August 9th of 2014. Yes, it's like Minecraft and Trove, and it's Ort, it's online. It still has not been released. It's still in early access. It's still crowdfunded on their own website. And I still don't know, there's still nothing in the game yet. Like, I want to buy into it. I want to play it, but I still don't see anything in there yet that makes me want to pay for it and then play it and then tell you what it's like. So, oh well, I guess I can't technically take that off the list because it still might be something that I do in the future. If nothing else, I can circle back around to it later on in the future and say, oh yeah, this is on my list twice now. Now I can kick 2 things off my list. Sorry, I felt the need to just get all that off my chest. That yes, I have this long list of things. I'm actually on row 574, although most of the rows are hidden because I've already talked about them. I am the ultimate pack rat when it comes to digital bytes, my friends. I am that person. And I'm looking at a Kickstarter that I'm probably going to back right after this, called Infinity Battlescape, and I'll link you to their Kickstarter. It's going to be a multiplayer game up to 100 players. And I don't know if it's instanced or persistent. There is a stretch goal where they make a persistent universe. I don't know if it's peer to peer yet or how it's going to work. I haven't really. The reason I haven't purchased anything, the reason I haven't kickstarted it yet is because I have to still absorb what is on their page there. There's a lot of information there. But it looks really cool. It needs $300,000 and it's already $100,000 in, and it's still got plenty of time left on it. So it's certainly a hot topic. It's apparently, it's a sci-fi multiplayer shooter right now, much like it's a lot like Elite Dangerous in some respects. Actually, in a lot of respects, because Elite Dangerous is going to have planetary landings now, so it's pretty much just like Elite Dangerous, except it's not as simmy. It's more arcadey. So whereas in basically when you play Elite Dangerous, you need some sort of either HOTAS setup or have voice commands. Otherwise, your keyboard, pretty much every key on your keyboard is used for something. That to me, whenever key on your keyboard and your mouse is used for something in a game, that to me is a simulation game, which is what Elite Dangerous pretty much is in my mind. Whereas this one looks more like an action game where it's just, sort of use it on a controller and just kind of fly around and shoot other players. And they have some stretch goals around, like you can maybe, have, as I said, a persistent universe where it would be player-made bases and all that stuff. Don't know if they'll get to that because that's like a $1.5 million stretch goal. But the storied history of this is that this guy has been working on this engine, the iNove engine or whatever he's calling it for over a decade. And his original goal for it was basically to make an Elite game, like Elite Dangerous, with a persistent or a procedurally generated universe, and just have all kinds of stuff in there, like the kitchen sink and everything. But it was just too big. It was just too large. And he finally just said, you know what, let's just narrow the scope of this back down again. And so the idea behind this one is it's multiplayer. I don't know if it has quests and stuff in it. I think it's more of a just shoot other people, more like a Star Conflict kind of thing. It reminds me quite a bit of Star Conflict, actually. So I think it's more of a Star Conflict area, and it's all taking place in one procedurally generated solar system. And there's realistic distances between planets and so on and so forth. So I imagine there's a lot of stuff you can do around that. I don't know how the multiplayer works. I don't know if it's like a drop in, drop out thing, or if it's there's seats and everybody gets a seat on the server. I don't know yet. It might even say it. It might mention it even in the Kickstarter write-up. I just haven't gone through the whole thing yet. It's just something I wanted to put on the radar there because it looks like it'd be really interesting for someone like me who enjoyed Star Conflict, which is a game I really need to get back into at some point because they keep refining and improving that game, and I haven't been to it in a while. But it's seeing that and seeing this, they seem like they're two of the same kind almost. So I don't mind having more of that around. So I figure I'd put that at least on the radar for now, and hopefully maybe I'll sit down and read the whole Kickstarter at some point and actually determine whether or not I should put my money on it. But I want to put that out there at least so you can take a look at it. It's actually, the engine that they're working on looks pretty impressive. Like there's a seamless transition from space to the planet side. Some of the planets are all, like the climate of the planets is different. And they were showing off like a lava planets or something of those natures. So kind of cool. And space stations that you can fly through and stuff and fight around, and yep, all the shooty bang stuff that you could probably want from a space sci-fi shooter, I would say. Okay, so all of that said, that pretty much clears out the games and stuff on my list. What I need to talk about now is YouTube. Yes, YouTube Red was announced this week. It's not something we weren't expecting. We were expecting it at some point. They did say they'd be announcing it in October. They just waited until almost the end of October to announce it. And it's pretty much everything that we've heard in the past. So we knew that YouTube was going to go for subscriptions, try to do a subscription model as opposed to, where you can remove ads from your videos if you pay a monthly fee. We knew that they were going to split that monthly fee amongst the creators. We didn't know exactly how they were going to do it, and we still don't really know exactly how they're going to do it. We know a few things that they've told us, but there's a lot of hemming and hawing that they have not, back and forth about what exactly anything means. What is the meaning of the word "it"? I don't know. And I'm still unsure of what is going to happen to my channel. I suspect nothing. I suspect nothing's going to happen. I suspect it's going to be business as usual, but I don't know. So I'm not going to change anything between now and then. So we'll see what happens. But YouTube Red is a $10 a month subscription where you will be able to get original content from YouTube for what worth that original content is. Let me click on the link here, and actually I'm linking you to the blog itself. rather than any of the news sites talking about it, because the news sites are all I've been looking at a lot of the news sites that have talked about it. A lot of the gaming sites have talked about it, and they're all confused. There's some commonality between what they say, but there's some confusion as well. And the comments are trollrific. Let's put it that way. Lots of trolls in the comments like, oh, I got to pay $10 a month to see a guy play video games. Clearly there's nothing wrong with my life. Don't read the comments on those articles is all I can tell. If you want to have faith in humanity at the end of the day. But some of the originals series that they want, Scare PewDiePie. Right. I'm not going to touch that one. Sing It, which is from the Fine Brothers Entertainment and Mandeville Films, which is a scripted comedy that lovingly satirizes the reality singing competitions that have become centerpiece of pop culture. Laser Team. This is one that I actually heard about a while ago. I didn't know this was going to be the thing on YouTube, though. But Rooster Teeth has been working on this one. This is actually a movie. This is just a one-time feature-length movie thing that they were working on. Rooster Teeth and Full Screen Films are working on, where they've got 4 small-town losers stumble upon an alien ship carrying a mysterious cargo, leading to a battle to save the Earth from an all-powerful enemy. Anything Rooster Teeth does is usually gold, so I don't fault them at all for doing this. So, if anything else, I'm sure that will be a wonderful, wonderful production. I've seen some of the photos of it where they're wearing ridiculously not fitting clothes and stuff. It was pretty funny. So I can imagine that they'll probably knock that one out of the park. A Trip to Unicorn Island from Team and Astronauts Want It. This feature-length movie gives fans an extraordinary look inside the life and journey of Lily Singh as she embarks on a challenging 26-city global tour where she has to remember to practice what she preaches. Happiness is the only thing worth fighting for. I have no idea who this person is or why I should care about them. So, yeah. Untitled, as yet to be titled, Joey Graceffa, Joey G project. In this all-new reality adventure series, Joey, what's his name, brings together an ensemble of top YouTubers for a murder mystery they'll never forget. They'll form alliances to survive, but little do they know that most won't make it out alive. Which sounds like the worst reality show. It's like, let's cross Big Brother with some kind of scripted thing that, whatever. I'll reserve my comments because they're all terrible. 360 Project from Matt Pat of Game Theory. YouTube educator and pop culture expert Matt Pat from The Game Theorist invites the audience to come along for a ride of an innovative new series and 360 VR experience. In each episode, Matt explores the real-life science behind popular video games by throwing gamers into the high-stakes scenarios they play through every day, from water jetpacks to haunted pizzerias. So, if you liked the commercial during the Super Bowl where, what was that, a Bud Light commercial where they ran through a maze that was like a Pac-Man maze or something like that, then this is probably up your alley. The rest of us could just kind of continue doing what we do. Single by 30 in this romantic drama series from Wong Fu Productions and New Form Digital, 2 high school best friends make a promise to get married if they're still single at 30. A decade later, with 30 quickly approaching, their attempt at upholding their vow unfolds in unexpected ways. Starring Harry Shum Jr. and Kina Grannis. I got nothing on that one. It's a series apparently, romantic drama series. So Friends-esque, I guess. Although that wasn't a romantic drama. There's no comedy in it, I guess. Who knows? It sounds like it would be comedy. It sounds like Sounds like there would be some comedy in there, but I guess not. Some college humor project that has not yet had a title. So I'm sure that will be great for 12-year-olds. Fight. I'm sorry, I'm just being very brutal here. I don't mean to be so brutal. It's late at night and I don't give a damn. Fight of the Living Dead. In an unprecedented social experiment reality show from Alpine Labs, Fight of the Living Dead takes popular YouTube talent and traps them in frighteningly realistic zombie apocalypse. They must use their instincts and gaming skills to survive as they battle the elements for the ultimate prize of survival. And boring. I Am Tobiscus. From the mind of Toby Turner, this scripted comedy explores the world of self-involved YouTube creator pursuing bigger stardom. This show features original music and satirizes the hilarious details of being an eccentric new age celebrity. So basically, meta YouTube. YouTube is being meta about YouTube now. That's what that basically is. So all that aside, so you get all that crap. I'm sorry, I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. It's all freaking crap, all of it, except for maybe the laser team thing. That was probably good. Anything, like I said, anything Rooster Teeth touches is gold. But everybody else can go get bent. I am being unusually harsh. This is not me. This is not the normal me. This is the cynical me that I don't usually allow out for a walk. But the cynical me is taking a walk right now over many a gravestone. So that said, you get access to you get no ads for $10 a month. You get access to the YouTube originals, which I assume YouTube's going to start to bring in like Disney stuff and all kinds of other things. Although Disney maybe not, because there's a whole ESPN thing that's going on. But some other, they might work with movie theaters or not movie production companies and stuff like that. I assume they're going to bring in. They're probably trying to take a slice of the Netflix pie, and I assume they're going to bring in some of that stuff to compete with the YouTube celebrities that are out there, which is going to be rather bad for the YouTube celebrities because all that stuff is taking from all the same till. And if a huge production company comes in and makes these like fantastic series that the YouTubers themselves can't compete with, yet have to compete with, and are seeing all their money get drained away from it, that's going to be interesting. There's going to be some interesting fallout from this, I imagine, in the future. Right away, it's going to be same old, probably. So, all that said, probably the thing that is the most compelling for people is that you get a unlimited, with that $10 a month, you also get Google Music Unlimited, which most people have already. Well, a lot of people have already. And if you already have that, you get YouTube Red with it. So they're basically combining those two things. So if you already have a subscription to Google Unlimited Play Music, sometimes, whatever, you'll already get YouTube Red, and so you won't get any ads on YouTube, basically. That, I think, alone is the thing that will drive most people to YouTube Red. I don't think anybody really wants to... I don't think that there's anyone who will pay to have ads removed from YouTube when ad blocker works. You know what I mean? I think, if anything, unless they want to contribute to... Unless they're older and they want to see their favorite YouTuber get some money. But even that's kind of suspect because we don't know yet what the cut is. There's a suspect that the cut's going to be what it normally is. So it'd be YouTube takes 45% and the content creator gets 55%. But the way the way that they're calculating that till is kind of very strange. It has to kind of be strange because of the nature of subscriptions, but at the same time, it's might be more money or it might be less. Not quite sure yet. Or it might be the same amount. And I say that because the way that YouTube has announced that they're going to do it is it's going to be based on watch time, with a little bit of views in there too, sprinkled in, but it's mostly watch time. And I don't know exactly what they mean by watch time. I don't know if they mean percentage or just plain old minutes and seconds or hours. You know, I don't know exactly which they mean, because if you look at your YouTube analytics, it kind of breaks it down twice. It breaks it down as, here's the minutes watched on your YouTube videos, which I'll pull up my minutes watched, because I don't actually know it off the top of my head. I rarely, if ever, look at the analytics because I don't trust them. Having worked with Google AdWords API in the past, and seeing how often that the numbers are wrong from that, I don't trust any numbers that YouTube spits out, because it's just the same front end to the same crappy code. But I do occasionally look at it, at least when I do my monthly roundups. So let's see here, analytics. So what is my average watch time? We'll see here somewhere. Well, okay, my estimated minutes watched for the last 28 days is 84,490. So I don't know if they mean they're going to take it from the estimated minutes watched, right? Which is, like I said, 85,000, we'll round it off. Or if it's on a percentage, because they also have a percentage on here. I'm trying to freaking find it. I can never, yeah, or audience retention. That's what I'm looking for. They also have this audience retention thing, which, wow, I'm actually doing pretty good on that. I was not doing this good before at all. Apparently, I have 28% audience average percentage per view per video. I think, is it per video or per view? What is it? Average percentage of a video your audience watches per view. Okay, so average percentage of a video per view. Okay, is 28% for me, which is about 9 minutes and 51 seconds is what it says here, which is actually damn good. I mean, a lot of YouTubers, it's like 2 minutes is the average, because just the nature of, you know, somebody jumps in and jumps around in the video and all that stuff. So I'm actually doing really good there. I'm very surprised at that. Very, very surprised at that. Again, if I trusted any of these numbers, I would be doing very good at it, but I don't. As far as I know, those numbers are completely wrong, and that's only for the last 28 days. I'm sure if I do this for the all time, which I don't think I can I? Lifetime. Here we go. My lifetime is, yeah, it drops down to 7 minutes and 38 seconds with 22%. Okay. That's actually not bad either. To be fair, that's not bad either. I'm actually pretty happy about that. But so I don't know. So like I said, there's a lot of numbers here, and I don't know what numbers it's based on. If it's based on their average, or if it's based on the raw number. Which, if I go back to my overview page and look at the raw number for the lifetime, I have 438,387 minutes watched, which is still nothing. the big time YouTubers have like billions and trillions of minutes watched on their videos. So if they go based on the estimated minutes watched total, like 438,000 or whatever, then I can see it not being much better than what they do today, right? Like today, it's so there's a lot of math going around, and right now the way that ads work, from what I understand, and I don't know fully because I haven't actually made any money off of YouTube. I don't monetize anything, at least not purposely. Anything monetizes because it's got claimed by Content ID, but it's. Usually they pay, if you're just with YouTube and you're not partnered with somebody, it's usually about $3 to $4 is how much you get in ad revenue. for someone who doesn't skip the ad in the first, I think somebody has to watch 30 seconds of the ad in order for it. Like if it's a 2-minute long ad, I think you have to watch like 30 seconds for it to count to the YouTuber. And that's why like 30-second ads you can skip. And if you skip them, then the YouTuber doesn't actually get anything. But that said, you shouldn't just watch them anyway. If it's something you've seen before, you might as well skip it, because if you do watch all of them religiously, even if you've seen them before, the AdWords can flag it as being an invalid view and then end up terminating somebody's AdWords account, which has happened in past. so that's why you always hear a YouTuber say, I don't care if you skip it, just, do whatever comes natural to you. Because if they say, yeah, no, watch everything, there's a good possibility that they'll be caught by the fraud algorithm, invalidly, incorrectly caught by the fraud algorithm, because suddenly they have a bunch of people watching stuff. And then then they can't monetize anything. Well, actually, I should say they'll continue monetizing, but they won't see any money from it because their account will be shut down. Trying to keep all this straight, because there's a lot going on here. So with that said, you usually pay $3 to $4 CPM, which is cost per 1,000. It's not cost per million, cost per 1,000. So $3 to $4 for every 1,000 views, valid views, of people not skipping an ad, or at least watching 30 seconds of it and then skipping it. All those are broken down, and then if you get 1,000 of those, you would get the $3 or $4. Now, obviously, ad blocking, all this stuff cuts into that, and people who skip cuts into it, and all that stuff. So that said, and the ad revenue market fluctuates. Like I'm saying $3 to $4, but depending on the time of the year, like January, it might be like $1.50. You know what I mean? It fluctuates wildly. It's not a fixed thing. That's why you see a lot of YouTubers doing Patreon and stuff, because there's a expectation of what money you can actually plan on, what money is going to come in, from month to month. It's much more stable. It's not driven by market demand or lack thereof. So you take that and then you say, all right, somebody's paying $10 a month. You're getting just over half of that. So we'll say, we'll just make it half for the sake of purposes. You'll say $5, right? And that's assuming you're partnered directly with YouTube. You don't have an MCN or other things. If you have an MCN, basically that $5 gets split between them and the YouTuber. So if they, depending on their contract, if it's like a 70-30, then the YouTuber will get like 70% of that $5, and the MCN will get the other 30. And then if they're partnered with, if they do Nintendo stuff and they've got Nintendo's MCN there as well, then Nintendo takes another 60% of that. So it gets even smaller, and it's smaller chunks. And you get the idea. It gets pretty darn complicated along the way. But that's per 1,000, right? So I see a lot of YouTubers that have like 1 million. Like I every so often I'll look at the YouTubers that I follow, and I'll look at their views over the past 2 or 3 weeks, where I'll just go on their video pages and I'll look at how many views their videos have gotten. And I've noticed a trend where a lot of people who have 800,000, 500,000, 600,000 subscribers might only get 40,000 views on a video after 2 weeks, right? So that on the surface sounds like a lot of money, because it's like 40,000. So it's like 40 times $3 is what? 3 times 4, $120. But that's being generous. Obviously, those 40,000, maybe only 20,000 of those. Well, that's probably too low. Maybe only 35,000 of those count it as actual money. They were unskipped ads and all that stuff. So it might be a little bit less than that. you think that way, and you say, well, that's kind of a drop in the bucket, you know. It's very, very hard to eke any kind of living out of that because you just don't know. I mean, that's one video, granted, and a lot of them compensate by making lots of videos, but not all the videos do quite as well as that, right? So it's very, very interesting, difficult thing to wrap your head around. And then on top of that, and of course, that was the total amount. That's not taking 45% off for YouTube and all the other percentages that might be taken off of that. So with the YouTube Red thing, in theory, you would be getting more money because instead of it being per 1,000 views, you're now getting paid per user, right? But here's the thing. It's based on watch time, the percentage you get, and from what I understand, and this is there's back and forth about this. We're not quite sure. We're not quite sure if it works this way or not, but I've read some things that suggest that all that money is actually going, all that subscriber money is actually going into one pot, and everybody's digging into that one pot, which is problematic because YouTube is making deals with big content companies, and those big content companies, because they really want like the Netflix audience and stuff, those big content companies are probably taking a big percentage of that revenue. I have a feeling that it's not, there's some contract things where they're like, yeah, we're going to take a lot of this away, and which is going to take money away, in theory, from that pot, away from other YouTubers, even beyond watch time. We'll just say, for sake of argument, it is completely based on watch time, in which case they might still do a killing in there because, you know, they've got eyeballs that the other ones wouldn't have, right? Or they're bringing in an audience that the other YouTubers don't have, and it's complicated. I think maybe it's not quite as bad as I think. Maybe it's not going to be, you know, dominated by them. I still think YouTube itself is going to be dominated by the big players, you know, the big YouTubers, the multi-million subscriber YouTubers, because they're the only ones that YouTube is actually catering to. Us little guys are, you know, we're just gnats on their ass. They couldn't care less about us. If they did, they'd actually like communicate, which they don't do. So you've got all that. In theory, yes, you're making more money because it's, instead of per 1,000, it's per person. But if it all goes into one pot, that means that your watch time, even though you might have 30,000 minutes watched for a month, the larger channels are going to have, you know, millions of minutes watched. And so your percentage is now very, very tiny. Like, you're back down to the, I'd be surprised if you were even at the $3 range. I would think you'd be more at the 25-cent range, right? So if you think like, hey, I got 41, let's take the example I had before, 40,000 views, right? 40,000 views, you might get out of that, after all the percentages are taken out, you might get out of it, say, we'll say $65, maybe. Now, if we take that scenario and we say, okay, if you were to continue to go on the way you're going, you'd probably get $65 again the next month. If all of your subscribers suddenly bought YouTube Red, right? Which isn't going to happen, but if it did, and they all bought YouTube Red, and all that money went into one pot, well, instead of seeing $65, because you don't, if you're a small channel and you don't have that kind of pull, if your channel, I mean, we're not even talking small channels now, we're talking like, even I've seen million subscriber channels that only get like 40,000 views or something. If those minutes watched if you do a lot of, like, say 30-minute videos and people maybe only watch bits and pieces of them, right? Suddenly you can see yourself getting a bit of a cut in pay, right? Because even though it's not per 1,000 anymore, it's per user, your minutes watched is not going to go up, probably. It's probably going to stay the same. And someone else who has millions of subscribers is probably going to be dominating that. Millions more subscribers than you is going to dominate that minutes watched just from sheer math, right? Just from the sheer fact of how many people are viewing that stuff. Unless they're getting less views than you, which may or may not be the case. So I can see that being, and then also you're competing with all these originals too, which are also taking a piece of that pie, of that watch minutes pie. So it's, and then you're also, on top of that, you're competing with the non-gaming channels, right? You're competing with the vlog channels and the style channels and the music channels and all that stuff. And it's like all of them are taking bits of that same segment. And so I don't think, I'm not good at math, so I can't predict exactly what's going to happen, but I suspect in all scenarios, that $65 is going to be more like, I don't know, $5, $6, maybe even fractions of a cent. Who knows? Depending on your number of minutes watched, which on the surface sounds like a more fair deal, because if you're, in theory, if you're a small timer like myself and you put up a lot of content that people watch all the way through, in theory, you would be getting paid a lot more than you would be from ad revenue. But in practice, I think it's still a matter of just volume, right? Those larger channels just have far more volume. Even if everyone went to those channels, even if they had every person subscribed to them, watched 1 minute of a video of of just one video per month of 1 minute, they would probably still dominate the amount of money coming out, as opposed to the smaller channels, or even the lesser channels. Like I'm talking like an 8 million subscriber channel versus a 1 million subscriber channel. I think the 1 million subscriber channel is going to be at even more of a more disadvantaged than the 8 million one, even more so than they are now. Like it's like even a 1 million subscriber channel could still make a decent living. Well, not decent, but can make a ramen noodle living, right? That might not be the case going forward, because this 8 million subscriber channel's got original content going on. It's got all kinds of other things happening, and more minutes watched than this other person is mustering. And we might see a shift in things. I don't know. It really depends on how popular YouTube Red ends up being. Like I said, I don't think it's going to be very popular, though YouTube was very crafty in combining it with Google Music Now, because what they basically did was they said, they were crafty in that I think they know that nobody wants to sign up for it. So they said, but we have this whole existing user base already, and we know people like music. So if we get people to sign up for music stuff, we'll just give them this other thing for free. And by process of elimination, we now have shifted we've now forced, quote unquote, YouTube Red to be successful by tying it to something else that is actually successful, which is a brilliant, marketing / business thing to do. I think at the end of the day, that shift is going to end up causing possibly more consternation for the larger channels that are actually making it on their own right now. The smaller channels are screwed regardless. I mean, we're screwed now, we're screwed then. It doesn't really matter. That's why I don't bother with the monetization, because it's not even worth it's not even worth the paper it's written on. But that I can. My fear is that there's going to be these larger channels that are going to die unless they go onto Patreon and find people to go back them over there, or they'll shift off of YouTube entirely and go to Twitch and get, subscriber buttons, or go to Hitbox and automatically get a subscriber button. And I suspect that might hasten the departure of a lot of these channels, because already there's been because of the ad revenue being so bad, there's been a lot more streaming happening. A lot of these channels just spending more time streaming than they're doing YouTube. From what the ones that I follow anyway, the ones that I've seen, I don't know if that's actually a trend or not, but I can see this being the next nail in the coffin, pushing them even further over to that stuff. And so far, YouTube gaming hasn't taken off, unfortunately. Although I think it's still too early to discount it. It was not the Twitch killer. And honestly, something like that is going to take time before it could ever be a Twitch killer, right? Because Twitch has been around for a while. It was Justin TV, and then it was Twitch. And as Twitch, it's been around for a couple of years and has grown into the mindset of people, whereas YouTube gaming is having to fight an uphill battle, and Google has not fought an uphill battle for a long time, and I don't think they remember how to do it, honestly. And I think that's quite evident in how they've handled YouTube gaming, in the lack of handling that they've done with it. So those are my thoughts on the YouTube Red thing. I am in a weird scenario where I am technically a YouTube partner, but I only am because I signed up for that portion just so I could do the scheduled uploads, which I hope they don't take away from me. Because if they take scheduled uploads away from me, then I will have to become a full partner, because I can't run this channel without a scheduled upload, which means that I'll end up turning ads on things, or getting an AdWords account and turning ads on, which I don't want to do, and I'm hoping I don't have to do that. But that might be the scenario I find myself in. The worst case scenario is I think the 28th is when they're rolling it out. Worst case scenario is I will wake up the morning of the 28th and all my videos will be set to private, which will be rough. If that's the case, then yes, I will end up having to get myself an AdWords account, and become a full partner with a capital P, and monetizing things on YouTube, and just going with that, because I want to continue doing YouTube. And if I'm forced to turn ads on, then it's not my sandbox to play in. I'm playing in Google's sandbox. I'm playing in YouTube's sandbox. And then if that's their rules, then that's their rules. I gotta abide by them. It'll be unfortunate if it comes to that. I don't think it will. I think I'm in a special case where they don't know what to do with my channel. So I'm going to continue to do what I do for as long as I can. And then if the rules change, then I will change with them. It will suck. You can call me a sellout as much as you want, but it's, like I said, it's not my rules. I got to play by their rules. So we will see what happens. But regardless, I want to continue making videos on YouTube, and I will do what is necessary to do that until such time as it becomes not possible. You know what I mean? I very much enjoy doing this. I enjoy everything about this. I don't make the greatest content in the world. I'm just a guy playing video games. I don't do it well, but I enjoy the hell out of it, and I enjoy these Sunday rambling sessions, as you can imagine, since I have rambled on for quite a while here, much longer than I actually had footage for, so I'll have to record a little bit more footage, but that's okay. That is okay. I wanted to talk about the YouTube Red thing because it is something that's going to affect the channel. I do have a channel update that I owe you guys, probably this week, hopefully. I'm probably not going to talk about it there. I'll just mention it briefly, but mostly I'm just going to talk about what I'm doing with the channel there, and just keeping that focused. But this is newsworthy. It is in the news. It is gaming related, kind of tangentially. But yeah, I think I've rambled on long enough. I think I've put everybody quite to sleep. Which, if anything else, that is what my videos are meant to be viewed as. I assume that you're viewing my videos, all my videos, while laying in bed ready to go to sleep, and you need somebody to give you that extra push into sheep counting land. And I hope that you continue to come back for more of that. Thanks so much for watching on YouTube, all of you lovely folks, and for listening to me on SoundCloud. You are also lovely folks over on SoundCloud. And I will see you next Sunday.